Welcome to the Miracle Mansion podcast. My name's Marcus True. I'm Head of Treatment, Counselling and Aftercare at Broadway Lodge. And today we have...
Alice.
Alice is coming to share her story of how she got clean, what she did at Broadway, what happened. She's about to share her story. Welcome, Alice.
Thank you.
How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm really good. I've been so looking forward to coming here. I always feel like deeply reflective on the drive from Bristol to Weston.
Yeah.
And then just getting here and feeling like so uplifted. Honestly, there have been times in recent months when I've thought, God, I wish I could just go back to Broadway for a week. When life gets really stressful and I'm like, I just want to go and have, someone organise my day for me, and I don't have to think about cooking food, and I can just talk about my feelings all the time and be around all the lovely people and not have to worry about things.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You can come for a day.
Really? I can have a whole day.
Come for a day. But that means I'd have to allocate you a TV.
Okay.
Put you on wash up.
That's okay, I can do that. I'm pretty good at washing up in the house.
Yeah, that's cool. No, it's always lovely to have you, and always a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
So, we're here. You're here to tell me about addiction.
Yeah.
How you got to Broadway Lodge, what it was like for you at Broadway Lodge, and what you have been doing since.
Okay. Lots to cover.
Yes, we have a good hour. And
Okay.
Guess what? I'm glad you looked at the clock, because guess what I haven't done? Normally
Set a timer.
I haven't put the clock in my timeline, so I can't see it and I can't even move.
I can see it.
That's okay, don't worry. It will be what it will be.
Okay.
Cool. Right, so tell me.
Okay.
How did it all start? Where did it all go wrong?
Where did it all go wrong?
How did it all start? Tell me about your life. Tell me about you. Where you from?
I am from a little village called Wombrah, which is in Wiltshire. It's sort of near Swindon, Marlborough. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in the countryside, went to a lovely girls' school. We had ponies. We had like the most beautiful upbringing, to look at from the outside looking in, it was beautiful. I had my little sister, both my parents for the majority of my childhood, and we had lots of opportunities and a great school, and, everything looked lovely. I always had this real sense of fear. There was like an immense amount of pressure. I always felt like I wasn't a very kind of carefree child. I was always really nervous, really fearful, like intense perfectionism was just on me all the time, whether it was like my schoolwork, riding the horses, going to competitions, pleasing my parents, impressing my friends. It was always like just this real need to be the superlative of everything, like the smartest, the best at this, the best at that, it was just so consuming. And I just remember having all of this internalized, but absolutely no idea what it was.
Right. What age can you remember that being at?
I think the most poignant kind of time was starting secondary school, when I went to a private girls' school, and I was 12, 13. It was around the same time that my body was changing. I was really aware that I was at this really quite prestigious school, and there was pressure that I wanted to be a high achiever, and that my parents were working really hard to pay my school fees, and lots of opportunities with riding ponies, and had kind of dreams of being on European teams by the age of 16. So it was kind of that time, 12, 13, 14. And
Christ, that pressure.
Well, it was just a lot. But again, I recognise it now. It was pressure and stress that I sort of internalized. But at the time, I didn't know any different. Mm-hmm. So it developed into an eating disorder. That was my first experience with addiction. Mm-hmm. I think there was a time when I just kind of became so overwhelmed with all these external opportunities that I just kind of felt really out of control. And the way of gaining some control was managing what I ate. And it just that progressed so quickly, and I got very unwell very, very quickly with that.
When you say unwell, what do you mean?
Just rapidly losing weight, obsessing about food, calorie intake, exercising, getting to a point where I could no longer be at school. So just at a time when I was like all set to get all my A stars and to ride at European level, that's when it got me, just then. So I got my GCSEs, I had to stop riding. And it was almost like, just as everything was falling into place, this like internal monster just like kind of ripped it from me. And I just remember one summer of like finishing GCSEs and all my friends were like having these parties and celebrating the end of, secondary school. And I was just at home and I spent so much time on my own. Like I was such an isolated sort of adolescent. I just spent all this time on my own studying and reading and thinking about what I was eating. Like it was so sinister. And then I think about like 10 years on from that, how drinking and drugs got me in exactly the same way, like that isolated, sitting alone. Everyone's out there having a lovely time. And I'm just sort of left with this miserable beast that is just like consuming me and ridding me of any kind of joy or fun I seem to be having.
That sounds like
it's pretty sinister how progressive it is. Yeah, it all sounds so this is like the paradox of it, because it all sounds so doom and gloom, but on the outside, like I said, I had a lovely family, I had horses, we lived in this beautiful house. My dad worked exceptionally hard when we were young, and we moved from like a little bungalow in Reading to this like big, beautiful country house. So like, we were so privileged. But then there was this like very lonely, very isolated, very afraid little girl under all of that. So it was a real kind of contrast, what was happening inside as opposed to what was happening on the outside. Yeah. So then I left. I couldn't stay at the school I was at. I went to a college.
How did you feel about that?
That was like so eye-opening, having gone from a very small, very kind of fairly strict, fairly like, high achieving school, to then go into like a public college where there were like boys and there were people from all walks of life, and like, it just really opened my eyes, and I was like, oh my God, there's so much here.
Tell me some more.
Well, I think I'd been so kind of slightly closed off from reality. And then suddenly there were like, just people from all walks of life, and people were like having parties and trying drugs and like missing classes and not doing their course. Things that were, to me, were like unimaginable, like absolutely unimaginable. Like, what do you mean you're not going to your class because you're going to go and smoke at the end of the field? Like, I was like, what? This is mental. This is mad. This is so far from what I've come from.
Yeah.
Just so intrigued by it all.
Yeah. Was you a good?
Oh my God, I was the most well-behaved.
Yes.
I just always wanted to be well-behaved.
Yes.
And I wanted everyone to tell me I was doing a really good job.
Yes.
And that I was trying really hard.
Yes.
And that was all I ever wanted.
Yes.
And God forbid I ever got told off or ever did something wrong, I would just like, I want to disappear. Like any of that kind of, just can't deal with conflict, can't deal with anger, would just sort of shut down.
Right, so you're at a local college.
Yeah, it's just like a normal school.
You got all different people, different
like
backgrounds,
boys, yeah.
races, colours, crew,
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah.
Come out of your world into this world, and it's all kicking off.
Yeah, it really is. I was like, this is where it's at. Yeah. I was like, this is where it's at. And I sort of moved from kind of group to group trying to find my place. And then I just sort of ended up with, this lovely group of friends. But we were all we were just such a mixed bag.
Eclectic.
But it was so lovely.
Yeah.
I I tried to fit in with like the big group of all the like really pretty girls that were just like, felt much more mature than me, but I just couldn't. I was sort of like tagging along the edge. But then I just sort of formed my own little circle, and it was great. And that's when I kind of would get invited to like social things, and I was still really thin when I started college, but I was just about well enough to go back into education. But then with like the socializing and the partying and all these things, I just sort of gradually started putting on weight and looking like a much healthier teenager. And then I just slowly but surely began a very long and very toxic relationship with alcohol, because I found that when I would drink, and I have these really vivid memories of being like really thin and having a drink and just being like, oh my God, this feels amazing. I want to eat everything and I want to talk to everyone and I want to dance and I want to like, you know, it just like brought out this really kind of, I don't know, much more outgoing side of me.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. And like as time went on, I was always trying to work really hard and still like really driven about my studies and my horses. But then also this like desire to be this like really carefree, slightly rebellious, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, you know, started smoking, and then I started trying drugs, and then I started trying harder drugs, and then I was just like, yeah, but everyone else is doing it and it's really cool. Having gone from this like private school girl that was like, oh my God, I would never smoke a cigarette because I might die, to being like, I want to try everything. And I want to be with the boys and the girls and go to these parties and then, you know, do all these sort of slightly mad, not courageous, rebellious things. Yes. But then in the daytime, by like daylight hours, like, right, I'm studying, I'm doing my exams, I'm getting all my A's, and I'm going to go to, for a while, I still thought I was going to go to like Oxford or Cambridge because I was like, that's what's expected of me.
Yes.
That's what I need to do.
Yes.
Again, the pressure was always still there. But then this like, oh my God, there's this really like fun, slightly chaotic side of me that I want to, you know, explore. And then after college, I went straight to uni.
What did you study?
That didn't last. Well, I went straight from college to uni and I did English and drama.
Okay.
I went to Royal Holloway, which is in London. Again, this kind of, there's always this sense of like, I've never really done, I don't think I've ever really made decisions for myself, right? Until I got sober, I didn't actually make decisions for myself. My parents were like, we really think you should go straight to uni from college, because if you don't go now, you might never go. And like that, I sort of really was like, okay, oh my God. Without really thinking, am I ready? I've only just done 2 years of college in the real world, and, you know, I'm just getting over this eating disorder. Am I ready to go straight? There was never like any room for me to kind of think about how I felt about the situation. It was just like, okay, that's what I'm being told, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So I went off to uni. I did like one term, and I've never quit anything ever. But I went to this uni, and I was just like so out of place there, and so not ready for that. You know.
Did you say out of place? What do you mean? In what way?
Well, I didn't really want to study English and drama, and everyone on my course was like really passionate about it. I didn't really want to do the work because it didn't interest me. I loved the nightlife, and I loved the going out and the partying and, you know, trying drugs and things like that. That's when that really started. But I just I had no passion for English the work. No, it just was not for me. It was just...
Well, having got to know you now, when you said, that's why I was intrigued when that's why I asked you, what did you study? And when you went English and drama, I was like, huh?
Why? Yeah, it just felt like an easy choice. I was like, I need to go to uni, so I'm just going to like pick this course and that uni, and that's where I'm going to go. There was no real, what does Alice want to do? It was just like, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
So it didn't work out.
Not surprising.
I left uni, came home for a year, got really stuck into the horses. This was like a year of just riding, competing some horses, selling some horses. I think I had a boyfriend at the time, and then I remember I got this weird job working in a nightclub. I don't quite know how I came across that, but I had this theory that like if I rode the horses in the day, I could work at nighttime, and then I could be earning money and riding and, you know, doing it all.
I just need to take you a step back. When you went home, when you told your mum and dad that you were coming home, tell me that. That's what I want to know.
God.
What was that like for you?
Do you know what? I can't even remember. I can't even remember that period of time. I would have been so full of guilt and shame and embarrassment because I'm not a quitter. And yet that was probably the first and only time I'd really decided something. Actually, yeah, I said I'd never made a decision for myself. I had made a decision.
That one?
And I can't remember what it was like.
So
I just remember building myself up for it, like telling them, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I have to because otherwise I'm going to fail this course and that's going to be even worse. Yeah.
So you're back home?
Back at home, back at home.
You're doing the horses during the day.
Riding horses, got this part-time job working in a nightclub at the weekends.
Yeah.
And then I really got introduced to drugs. And I remember the manager of this club was like this really attractive Irish guy, and I was kind of like a bit obsessed with him, and ignorant to the fact that he had like a raging cocaine addiction and was just completely unhinged. But I would have done anything that he asked me to do. So like there was like so many lock-ins after work till like the early hours of the morning, like the daylight hours. And I would stay and I would take drugs with him and whoever else was hanging around, and it just became part of what I did. It was just like, I just got kind of drawn into this kind of new world. And there was a part of me that really loved it because it just completely contrasted my normal life. So that was my real introduction to drugs. And then when I stopped working there and would just go out socially, I do remember the period of being like, God, I can't seem to drink without, like I had to drink with drugs. My drug of choice was cocaine, and I had to have them together. And there were definitely moments in my early 20s when I was like, is this a problem? Is this a bit of a problem here that I can't do one without the other? But then I'd just sort of brush it off and I'd forget about it and I'd move on. And then the next weekend would come around and it just became a bit of a repeated pattern. Then I went to uni again. I went to the Royal Agricultural University, which is a bit of me, because it was like horses and land management and like rural, all this kind of stuff. And I was a bit older then, and I had a little bit of kind of something about I thought I had a bit of something about me because I'd been to uni before. So I was like older than most of my peers, and I had a bit of a drug habit at this point. So I was like older, I'd done the freshest thing before, and I had drugs. So I remember feeling a little bit like, I know more than these guys. I know what I'm doing here. You lot are all amateurs. I know what I'm doing. And again, just like this, I got a real kind of buzz off of the fact that I was kind of like the whole spectrum. I was really driven, really determined, really ambitious, but also like completely rebellious and unhinged at times. When I would just, especially like going back to uni for the second time and getting really immersed in the whole kind of party life with that.
Proper uni culture.
Yeah, and it was like really celebrated at that uni. Like it's pretty feral. It's pretty feral.
Yeah, is it like the country set?
Yes. Yeah, lots of very wealthy families and lots of wealthy individuals with wealthy families, and it's all very kind of it's definitely a certain type of people. Yeah. And I loved, I was like, this is me. There's horses, there's drinking, there's drugs, there's everything. This is all of my favourite things in one place. And this is the thing. It was a lot. I had a wonderful time at uni. I made some of the best friends of my life at uni. And I met people that I had common interest with. Mm-hmm. And I got my degree and I loved that. I learnt loads. Well done. And there were some really positive things to come out of uni, apart from my relationship with drink and drugs, which again was just slowly progressing. And there was always an excuse to go out, or always an excuse to drink at the house, or always an excuse to, I just always wanted to be amongst it. And there were a couple of occasions when I'd wake up for a competition and I'd be like, oh my God, what's the time? Or, oh my God, I'm so hungover, what the hell? Or, there were like moments of it, but never enough at that point to be like, I really need to rein this in. It was like, I'm having the uni experience and I'm living my best life. And this is, this is what it's all about. So I do look back at uni with like really fond memories.
Cool. Sounds good. Sounds like a great time.
It was really cool. Yeah. So then where was I? Like early 20s. It was really when like work life started, I think. It's kind of been history kind of repeats itself similarly to like teenage me, as the opportunities kind of rise and success kind of grows around me, like before with ponies and exams and all this stuff. It kind of happened again with horses, competitions, work, opportunities, relationships. Everything around me was just like wonderful. But inside, my drinking, my using was just getting more and more progressive. And I was thinking about it this morning about how sinister it is, because it did take a long time for me to really come to terms with the fact that I had a serious problem. But it just crept in, and it just like grew and grew gradually and gradually over 10 years, really. Mm-hmm. From 17 to 27, it just gradually grew and grew and grew and grew. And because I've always been this like perfectionist hard worker, I've managed to like spin all the plates and kind of keep it all together. Okay. And that went on for a long time, still managing to ride, compete, do all the things, please everybody, kind of hold down relationships and friendships, but also drinking, using. It was sociable for a while, but like the last few years were became really isolated.
Again.
Right, just completely on my own. In my mum's house, in the family home.
Yes.
My parents divorced. That was another thing, actually, that kind of was an excuse for me to go off the rails. When I was like 18, 19, I'd not long left uni. There was kind of there was a bit of a series of events. There was I dropped out of uni, my parents got a divorce. I'd broken up with a boyfriend who I was with at the time was cheating on me. So I was I remember always thinking when bad things happen, it was the perfect excuse to go off the rails. And that would continue throughout my drinking and using.
Bad things happen.
I'd almost wanted bad things to happen. Yeah.
To give you permission.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People will know that, Alice has just fallen off the wagon because this awful thing happened, or that, she's had some bad news. She's not coping well. When that's a really sick side of my addict that's great, now we can just get wrecked and no one's going to say anything about it. But yeah, thinking about sometimes it's really difficult to reconnect with the really the real truth of it. The last couple of years when there were just so many nights of sitting in my mum's home, in my room, just shut away, drinking, storing bottles under the bed, sniffing drugs, hiding them in a little makeup bag, just every evening for a really long time. And then sometimes something would happen or my mum would just absolutely lose it. She had a mum who was an alcoholic, so she knew pretty well what was going on.
Right, okay.
And every now and again, she might absolutely lose it with me. And I would just completely shut down and be I need to stop. And then just by sheer determination would maybe rein it in for a week.
So your mum could see what was going on.
Yeah, and she was so furious about it. She was so furious. I just remember living in the house, and most of the time it was just myself and her, and just this constant rage filling the house. And now I have complete understanding and compassion because she literally watched her own mother die of this disease and had such an uncomfortable relationship with her as a result of her mum being an alcoholic and never finding recovery. So no wonder why she was so angry. She wasn't angry at me. She was angry at this disease, this thing that I live with that was just completely stealing me away from her. Because then there's all the things that come with it, isn't there? There's the lying and the manipulation, the dishonesty. I'd always say I was going somewhere, but I was going somewhere else. I'll be back at this time. Oh, I'm sure, of course I'll be back to ride that horse in the morning, or of course I'll go and do this for you. I couldn't even tell myself what was true and what was lies because I was just so caught up in it all the time.
Yeah.
In that desperate attempt to kind of please everybody, but also hide in this savage addiction that was just consuming me. And then I've heard this in the meetings so much now, and I remember hearing this in the meetings early on and being oh my God, that was so my experience. When people talk about the yets, all the I'm not an alcoholic because I haven't done this yet, I haven't done that yet. And that is exactly what happened to me. All the things
that you said you wouldn't do.
Right. Promised myself I would never do. Drinking in the morning, drinking on the way to work, on the way to the yard, drinking before a competition, drinking at a competition, or in between riding horses. It just progressed. And the thing is, once I did these things once, I felt like I could do them all the time. It convinced me I could do it all the time. I remember one time going to this God, I spent all winter trying to qualify these horses for this one competition. And I was then driving the horse box with like 3 or 4 horses on the back of this box. And I was picking my mum up on the way. These were horses that I didn't even own. I was riding them for somebody else. And I remember like I had to go to their yard, pick up the horses, then pick my mum up. And I just remember her getting in the horse box. And I just had this I was rattling. Like I'd been drinking all morning. I'd been sniffing all morning. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like everyone in this vehicle right now is at risk. Like I am in no fit state to be doing this. And now I've got 3 days of competing to do. And I'm like literally in the midst of it all. Like I've been drinking and using all morning and I'm definitely not going to stop anytime soon. Just this like, as she got in the horse box,
yeah.
like a sudden flash of reality, like what am I doing? But again, the fear, like the complete delusion of it all was like, I've just got to swallow this and just keep going. And I just remember driving and my hands were shaking. I was thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then just like gone. It was gone. The fear, the sanity, it was like a flash of it and then it was gone. The beast like just was constantly taking over. Because there were few moments in my using when I was like, this is really bad. But that is one that I really remember because she just got in the horse box and I was like, what am I doing? And also that realization of like, God, I've spent, all my life has kind of built up to having these opportunities, like having all these horses to ride and going to these big competitions. And like, it wasn't like in the scheme of the horse world, it wasn't, anything amazing. But for me, where I was at, it was like everything I'd ever really wanted.
Yeah.
And I was just like silently, secretly setting everything on fire. That's what it felt like. And I look back and I'm like, that was not a sustainable, it was inevitable that it was all going to come to a crashing end, which is what happened. Eventually it just became really clear that I was not well at all. I started making mistakes.
What, riding?
Riding. I started riding really badly. I was really forgetful. I would just turn up and I looked in no fit state. The people that I was riding for were quite concerned and really unhappy with me and my behaviour.
Really?
And I just couldn't understand why. I was like, how could you do this to me? How could you do this to me? After, I've worked so hard and how could you do that? How could you take all these opportunities away? Again, like the complete delusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exactly how it happened, but I do remember just suddenly I had no horses to ride. I had no friendships or relationships that nobody wanted to sort of hang around me long enough because I'd either just drag them. I'd either go and spend time with someone so I could drink and use, or I'd just drag, just like tagging along with anyone that would have me. But at this point I had no horses. I had no job to go to. Like, none of all my friends were just sort of more worried about me than they just didn't want to spend time with me. My mum was just furious at everything that had happened. And I just remember sitting at home thinking, oh my God, what is happening? Like, what has my life come to? Everything is just gone, all bridges burnt. It was a really like crushing kind of realization.
All them opportunities.
Yeah, just gone.
Nothing.
And feeling so seen, I was like, I feel like a monster and now everyone knows it.
It's so exposed as well.
So exposed, having no idea what was going on, just thinking I am a pathetic excuse of a human being. And that is exactly what I felt. I was like, what have I done? What am I doing? But still not able to stop doing the things that got me there. And I just had this short period of being like, I don't know why I'm here. I need to stop, but I absolutely can't. Like, there is nothing on this earth, no amount of love from my family or horses to ride or opportunity, nothing. I just felt absolutely hopeless. And it really brought me to a point of like complete surrender. And I really thought for quite some time of my 27th year that would be my last, because I just thought I've built up this life and I've lost it. And now nothing means anything. And like, what am I doing? Like having this real crisis. What am I doing here? I am the ultimate failure. It was so, It was awful. It was absolutely, it was just beyond awful.
I think everybody that's travelled these roads would have got to that point.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Do you know what the beautiful thing is sometimes not everybody gets to that point that you've got to, that ends up in a place like this.
Yeah.
And I love it when they get to that point, because when they get to that point, that is when they are absolutely ready for the journey of treatment and recovery.
Yeah.
You know, some people they're close to it, you know, they've had a couple of things, but you know, I call it an existential angst, where everything that you hoped for, everything that you knew all your dreams, aspirations are just all up in smoke.
Right.
And you just look at yourself one day and say, how the hell?
Right. That's it. You're literally just left with yourself.
Yeah.
What is here? What have I got here?
And it's just a shadow of the person that you thought you was, what you could be, what you was going to be. Just, do you know what I love? You use this word and it keeps reverberating in my head. Sinister.
Yes.
Sinister. And I've never heard that word used in this podcast in that way. And I keep wondering, why sinister?
I just think of the nature of addiction and how it just had me thinking it was a friend, it was a part of me, and it just crept its way in until I had just shrunk down. It just grew and grew and grew until the bit of Alice that I thought I once knew just eventually it was just swallowed up by it. But it's so slow and so progressive. And then the ways that I behaved, the ways that I behave when I drink and use, because there's always still an option for me to drink and use. The ways that I behave when I drink and use is so far from the person that I believe I am. My values just completely disappear. I remember doing my first step 4 and doing about relationship harms and things like that. And I if I hear that someone's cheated on their partner, I'm like, that is the worst thing you can do. That is just scum of the earth behavior. Then when I look at my step 4 and I'm like, oh my God. It wasn't until I'd written it all down. Step 4 is in making, writing a moral inventory through the steps and realizing, oh my God, because it was that wasn't me that did that. And it wasn't. It's this very kind of sick thing.
Yeah, the thing that sinister
just crept its way.
Into your life and took it over.
Without even with no awareness that it was just constantly growing and growing, creeping its way in. And all these little things I promised I'd never do, and then I did them once, and then I did them all the time, and then I was just blind to the fact that I was doing all these things. And it just creeps in, and it just
Thank you for a proper explanation. I've just not heard that word used in this sphere, and I thought, Christ, I like that word, but I need her to explain it to me.
Right. It's just the darkness of it all. It's just such a horrible little beast.
It's absolutely evil the way it happens.
It really is.
It's absolutely evil. It's the only way I can describe it. It's just just evil. So you're left with nothing but
thinking
teeny weeny Alice.
Right.
What happened?
Yeah.
How did rehab come about? What? How? Who? Where? How? Why? What happened?
It's interesting you talk about the teeny piece of Alice, because that is literally the only bit I believe that accepted. I'd been offered help before. I've been offered therapy. I've been offered, different types of counselling and all these kind of things. And I tried some of them, but it just hadn't worked. It just had not worked for me. So there was just this one day I was offered help. My mum said, we're gonna find you some help. She's got in touch with my dad. They had obviously been divorced sometimes, so I've spoken to your dad. We're gonna get you some help. We've been looking into treatment. And it was that teeny tiny little bit of Alice that was left that just went, okay. And that was it. There was no decision, there was no real thought or feeling. It was just the word just came out of me. And that was my moment of surrender. And little did I know, my dad had been ferociously searching the internet and making calls and trying to find the best place, right? He looked long and hard. He was determined to find the best possible opportunity for me to start this recovery journey. And that was where he found, and I remember he would like send my mum all this information, and you know, it was kind of amazing really, because it forced my parents to reconnect, which was bizarre, but you know, wonderful, because they hadn't for such a long time. And so my dad was like, I found, this is the place. And he sent my mum all this information, and she sort of showed it to me, and I was just like, whatever. You know, at that point, I was just like, I don't know, I don't understand, I don't care, I'm just going to do whatever you guys think is right. And I do remember having a look at the picture and being like, well, that looks pretty nice. That's a nice looking place. Because I don't know, I had no expectation of what rehab would feel like. I didn't know anyone that I'd heard of someone going through rehab at night, but I had no idea of what the experience would be like. I didn't know anyone close to me that had been through the whole experience, and I was just completely oblivious. So I remember just seeing the picture of the house, and it's like a blue sky, and it said Western Superman, and I was like, okay, whatever.
That's the photo okay.
That's it, yeah, exactly. Let's give this one a go. Yeah. Cool. I remember my dad, like when he looked into things, he researches everything. So he was telling me all about like the meals and the furniture and all this, and I'm like, whatever. But the point is, he knew, he'd done his research, and like this was the best option. I'm not just saying that because I'm sat here, but he really did do his work.
I met your dad, so
he says hi, by the way.
Oh, God.
Spoke to him on the way here. He was like, please say it.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? Has he still got that car?
Yes, he has.
Oh,
yes, he has.
Yes.
He loves his cars.
Shout out.
Yeah, bless him.
Shout out.
Bless my dad.
Shout out to Alice's dad.
Honestly, he really is. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have got here, because, you know, I know there's different routes of getting to treatment, and I was so fortunate that, you know, my parents were in a position that they could support me in getting here as quickly as I could. I think I was here within like a few weeks. And yeah, it was so, again, I think about how history repeats itself. I remember when I first went to boarding school, and I hated it. I hated being at boarding school. I was so homesick. I just wanted to be at home, even though I wasn't even like majorly happy at home. But I just remember having all my things every Monday and like being dropped off at boarding school and just crying with either my mum or my mum and my dad. And then like, again, we fast forward to the 6th of July of 2022, and I'm being dropped outside the detox centre with all my things, and I probably had like a teddy bear, and I probably looked like a child again, weeping. And I do remember there were some people sat outside, and they actually I became really good friends with them, but they'd not long been in detox, and everyone just kind of, the patients just kind of looked like zombies. And I know I felt like a bit of a zombie, and I was really teary. And then I remember looking up at the big house, and people were like knocking on the window and waving, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, just, you know, and it turned out that they were what do you call my thing? Well, patients. They're not patients. Patients, clients. Clients, friends, whatever. And they were all waving down at me. Yeah, peers. That's it. That's a nice word. Yeah. And they were all waving down at me as I'm crying, and my parents are there, and I'm thinking, oh my God. I did have this real moment of like, what has my life come to? What is going on? Especially looking at the people around, thinking, oh God, this is where I'm at. This is where it's at.
It's tough, isn't it?
It was pretty tough. But my God, the women down at the GB unit was so kind, and I cried all afternoon, and they just sat with me, and they were really sweet. And oh my God, Rona, is she still there? She was so lovely. I just cried and cried and cried, and they had to like take that, you know, obviously we have to have our picture taken, and I'm like trying to smile through the tears and just thinking, God, what's going on? But there was something I found real comfort in knowing that I just didn't have to organise or control anything. I just got here, and I was like, I just need to do as I'm told now. And, you know, fortunately, being that real kind of people-pleasing perfectionist, I'm really good at doing that. I'm good at just following instructions. And actually here, you know, the less that you try and get involved, and the less that you know, the easier it is. Like, you just let go. And that's kind of what recovery's been about. It's just like, just let go. I don't have to organise everything. So yeah, I had a lovely week down at the GB unit. I did think it was all a bit weird. I didn't know what was going on.
It's surreal, isn't it? Let's
So
be honest.
weird.
It's surreal.
Yeah.
It's surreal. You know, you can come from one world and then you come into this place. And, you know, it's also dependent on the time when you come in and the type of clients that you come in with.
Sure,
Time. It can just be absolutely surreal because literally you're entering a new world.
Whole new world. And being sober for like a few days at a time, which was the most I'd done in months and months and months. And just like feeling really teary and really scared. But then also like forming these, like meeting these lovely people, and suddenly we're all like learning to talk about our feelings. And there were a few days that we sat out in the garden and I was like, okay, this is really nice. Like, I think I'm kind of enjoying myself, and I've got time to read, and I've got time to like, you know, get a bit more creative and do a bit of drawing, like just passing the time with like really nice things that I wouldn't normally have done. And then I remember I moved up to the big house, and that was really scary. I'm pretty sure I cried there again because it was like another big move. And everyone was so excited. You met with such warmth. Everyone was like, oh my God, there's a new person coming in. And then sitting in the big room and doing the check-ins. And God, I think of it, it's so funny because at the time, I'm pretty sure I would have been like, this is the worst thing ever. But I look back and I'm like, it was just like this beautiful, warm, sort of family type community that I so needed. I just like kind of collapsed into Broadway, and it just scooped me up and just sort of held me and like helped me back to my feet. And then, you know, I was here for originally 4 weeks. And then I remember being 2 weeks in thinking, I am so not ready to go back out into civilization.
I remember it, yeah.
So I had a 2-week extension. And then, just like clearing out all that stuff, all that kind of darkness and dishonesty and all the secrets that had happened. And then just starting to get a little feeling of like, okay, maybe this is me. This is what I feel like. And okay, I've got all these feelings, and now I'm learning to talk about them and finding the vocabulary to talk about them. And, you know, all these other people are like doing the same thing, and like how wonderful it all is that we're here trying to get better. Oh, it was just so nice. Honestly, I think back and I think of it as so fondly because it was just the beginning of a complete life-changing experience. Yeah. Louise was my counsellor, and she was just so wonderful. She was just like a warm hug. I just loved her. I think of her so fondly.
I have to say to you, that counsellor changed my life. She's the most...
Really?
Oh God, she's the most compassionate person I've ever met.
Yeah.
She's the softest, the kindest, the most loving, the most everything.
Yeah.
And I tried to change her. I tried to change her to be like a more tougher heart.
Toughen up, yeah.
No, she changed me.
Did she?
Yeah, she's just completely changed me. So, and I remember her working with you, and it was just,
she's so
just
lovely.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It was just what you needed. It was just what you needed. And she was always talking to me, and I remember I can remember you was going home, and I said, no, you're not.
Right.
I remember that moment when I said, no, you're not going home. You're going to you're going to our dry house. There's no way you're going home. The journey needed to continue.
Absolutely. Yeah. God, it's so amazing how everything just like unfolds. It's almost like when I remind myself, the less I get involved, the easier like life just unfolds in a way that I'd never have imagined. But it just falls into place. So yeah, at the end of my 6 weeks, and then you were like, and I thought, what have I done? What have I done?
I said, no, you're not going home. You're going somewhere.
And do you know what's so funny was you said, there's a space in the dry house I'm going to take you to show you. And I thought, I'll go out of politeness. I'll be polite and I'll go, I'm not moving to Bristol. No way. I'm going back home to be with the horses and to go back to the life that I think I should have. No, how wrong I was. And then I remember seeing the dry houses, and then I just slept on it that night, and I was like, what am I doing? My best thinking got me here in the first place. These guys really know what they're doing. Like, you've been doing this for years. Broadway's been here for years. Like, I've just got to give this a try. And also at the time, I remember thinking, like, the chances of getting a space in a dry house, especially given the amount of people that come through here and the space in the dry house, and I was thinking, God, this could be like a this could really be like a once in a lifetime kind of thing, the timing.
Life-changing opportunity. Say that, especially in our houses where we don't have many spaces, and I can't remember how it came up.
Yeah.
And you was just, at that time, you was just perfect for it.
Right.
And to be honest with you, there was no way you was going home. I don't care what you said. I would have phoned your mum and dad and said, "Do not let her come home. She's coming with us."
Yeah.
So I already had my sinister plan.
Yes. And meanwhile, I thought I had my plan. Like, oh yeah, I'll just be nice. It's really Marcus is taking time out to show me the house, so I'll go and say it's really nice, but it's not for me. And then I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? The only reason I'm ready to move out is because of what you guys have told me and listening to your advice and guidance. And that's what I need to continue to do. And thank God I did. Thank God I did. Because I moved into the dry house, and it didn't take long for me to realize, because initially I kept going home and thinking, oh God, I've got to ride the horses. And I did do a few competitions straight out of rehab, but I just found it so stressful. And it was just a really big lesson that I can't just step back into what was. I can't just step back into old environments and old patterns. And also, like, here's an opportunity for me to explore other options in life. It's not just got to be riding horses, high achieving. What if I want to do something different, or at least try something different? And that is exactly what this time has offered me.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And it didn't take long for me to realize, oh my God, home is like not that comfortable for me. Also thinking like my eating disorder, my drinking, my using were all kind of, they all kind of grew in that house and in that environment. So to think I could just walk back in sober and it would all be gone, it was just completely like not the case at all. And also like taking space from my mum, like not living under her roof all the time, has allowed our relationship to just completely transform. We were so codependent. We were so angry at each other all the time. We couldn't communicate how we were feeling. It was like a work relationship. There was not a lot of love there. It was just anger and frustration and a lot of dishonesty on my part. And I needed to like completely remove myself from that whole dynamic.
Sounds quite toxic.
It was, and then it's one of those things like you don't realize how bad it is until you remove yourself from it. And now we've had, it's nearly 2 years. Yeah. And we get on so well. Not all, like 90% of the time, which I will take. And we do nice things together and we plan things together. We sometimes do the horsey things. Sometimes I'll go home and I'll ride a bit. I'm currently in the process of like selling my horse. So there's a bit of involvement there. But we're able to communicate. I'm able to like hand the control to her, because we would always fight for it. And I'd be like, I know what I'm doing. I want to be in charge. And now I can be like, look, when it comes to the horses, you can deal with this now. Like, I'm going to let you do this. And that's worked out really well.
Brilliant.
And I've been able to do, like, fully immerse myself in recovery for the first 6 months. Just meetings. And I've got a sponsor and worked the 12-step program. And then I've just been able to, like, explore all these new things. And I've realised I'm not just good at horses. I can be good at, like, many things.
Yes.
I think I thought I was probably rubbish at everything. But I did the horses because, like, that's what I know and that's what I'm good at. So it kind of, like, fed the ego a bit, I guess. Well, I've got something that I'm really good at and I know I am. And I've got, like, all these results and horses to prove it. But now I'm like, actually, if I put my mind to something, I can kind of do whatever. It's about, like, enjoying it, not being about the best at it. So I've tried all sorts of new things. And, like, I'm really into, like, health, nutrition. I'm really passionate about like women's health, the menstrual cycle, honouring the cycle. Because for me, when I first started that, as a teenager, I hated it. I found it so disgusting and so repulsive. And I've had a really unhealthy relationship with it throughout my adult life. So now I'm like all about honouring that. I'm about health. I've just got I've literally just completed a personal training qualification, which I'm so excited about, to be able to like offer experience about fitness and training and all these kind of things. And it's all about like loving and honouring the body as opposed to changing it or, all these like kind of extreme approaches. It's more of like a kinder, softer, all those kind of things.
Compassionate approach to
exactly.
health. and stuff.
Absolutely. That's something I've got really passionate about.
So beautiful.
And then I get to do all these amazing things. Like I get to go outdoor. I've been climbing. I've been lake swimming. I've been on loads of amazing hikes. I've run a couple of half marathons.
Yes, you have.
I've done like mad things.
I was telling Charlotte today that she had one of them big bathy things outside.
Ice bath.
Jesus Christ.
I swear by
I
it.
hated you for it.
It is, honestly, it's amazing.
No way. I've heard, but I would die. I know I would die. I was saying to Charlotte, she does all that stuff.
Does she?
And I
like
said,
yoga and cold water.
She had an ice bath, and I just thought, she's gone mad.
It's amazing. Honestly, don't knock it till you've tried it. I remember the first time, I didn't actually have a proper ice bath, but what there was at the dry house was like this big green garden bin, and I filled it up with water, and over the winter it would freeze, so every morning I'd be smashing the ice and getting into this green garden bin.
God bless you.
And now I've got a proper one.
No,
a proper.
Oh my God! I just when you said you was doing that, literally, I became scared because there's no way I could do that. I can't even stand a cold shower. Really?
That's a good start, though. No. That is a good start. The cold shower is a good introduction.
I tried it a couple of times, so no, but incredibly proud of you. And it's really mad, right? Because the thing that you say that we saw, that Louise and I and the whole team saw, is you thought that you only could do horses, and yet we saw just the potential in you. Yeah. Just like, are you nuts? If you put your mind to anything, you've just got that about you. Sometimes, you can see that in some people. They've just got that about it. And sometimes it's just from the way you grew up. It's just what, your upbringing, your childhood, family values and all that. But we saw that. So it doesn't surprise me. It absolutely doesn't surprise me. And it wouldn't surprise me to see you go on and on and on and on. And I'm going up and up and up as if up is a good thing, but just you achieving.
Yeah.
And the thing that I kind of really identify with you about achieving is I stopped, and I know that you stopped. I stopped trying to achieve for my parents.
Yeah. Right. It took a long time to get to that.
It's so freeing, and I don't even know how I made the decision. And I know how it happens to I say people like us, right? Somehow in childhood, I learned that if I pleased my parents, or I thought it would make them happy.
Yeah.
So that's what I tried to do.
Yeah.
And consequently, it made me very unhappy.
Right. Yeah, that is exactly it. If I please my parents, then maybe they'll get on better, and maybe their family will be, everything will be fine. And it just doesn't work like that, because then you completely abandon yourself, and there was no room to kind of explore what I want. And don't get me wrong, I never take away from the fact that I have, I've had wonderful experiences, and the way that I brought up has made me really determined and wanting to explore all these opportunities. Yeah. But it's so wonderful now to have this time to get to know myself. What do I enjoy? Yeah. What do I love? What really lights me up? What fills me with excitement and joy and a sense of fulfillment? And it's not about exactly what am I passionate about. Yeah. It's not about winning prizes and having great results. It's about having a positive impact on people around me. Being in recovery brings me so much fulfillment. Being able to share a message, connect with others. And it's quite funny what you're saying about people hitting their rock bottom. There's something really, when a newcomer comes in and you can see that they've really suffered, and I'm yes, welcome to the good life. There's something it's pretty dark, but I'm just this one's got it. Life is about to get way better for you.
Oh my God, you know what? I'm going to tell you a quick story, right? My little niece, so I talked to her about CA. I talked to her about CA. She went into a horsey vet school in Gloucester. Right? Kind of quite well-to-do, blah, 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 blah. But she, like you, coke and alcohol. Anyway, she got into loads of problems, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, last night she sent me a 3-month chip. Oh my God, I tell you what.
Oh my God.
Do you know how happy that made me when she said to me, I've been going to CA. Oh my God, I was so happy.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you.
It's
just
wonderful,
and I just
isn't
said,
it?
and the reason why I'm telling you that story is because I said to her, welcome to the good life.
Right.
Your life is about to become amazing, and she's doing her first step forward.
Yeah.
Excited
right. It's so funny. I've got a sponsee who I just adore. I love sponsoring, and she is just doing her first step 4. We're actually doing our step 5 tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I know that it's been a difficult process for her, but I can't help but think like, this is so exciting. This is so great. And she's there like, oh, I've been finding this really hard. And I'm like, yeah, I know you have, but it's so great because it's going to get so much better.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. And like, I think about the people in this house that I've walked past today, and I'm like, you guys are all like, there is so much potential out there. And you're hopefully, if you stick with it, you can experience it.
Embrace it.
Absolutely.
Embrace it. It's lovely to see you walking, because you walked into a point where I was celebrating Paul's leaving, and he was amazing.
Right.
He was amazing. But his mum was so emotional.
Yes, she was. It was so cute.
Yeah, and I love that he was coming back into that and just seeing that magic is still happening here. It was still the Miracle Mansion. Still performing miracles.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But it's so lovely to have you back.
Oh, it's so good to be here.
What are you doing now?
What am I doing now? I've got a little job.
Yes.
So what else am I doing? So aside from like the real life things, I've got a little job. I've recently had a little promotion. So I work at a lovely little shop, and I've just been made a supervisor manager. It's another stepping stone. I had a little job, and then I had another little job, and now it's kind of like a bigger, it's just like gradually trying different things. I've just done the PT qualification, so that's something I'm looking forward to kind of exploring in the next few months. I've got an amazing trip booked in August.
Where are you going?
To Sri Lanka.
No way.
We're going on. So my best friend in recovery, her name's Maria, and then a friend of hers who she's travelled with. We're doing this. It's like a charity event. It's called the Rickshaw Run. Mm-hmm. So you race a tuk-tuk from one side of Sri Lanka to the other, and you don't have any maps or any help. It's just you guys and the tuk-tuk, and you just have to make your way in like 8 days. It's mad. Oh, I can't wait.
That's just you.
It's
all over.
so exciting. I can't wait. I can't believe I get to do these things.
Yeah.
So that's in a couple of months' time.
Racing
a tuk-tuk, just like a little 3-wheeled thing, and you have to fix it, and you have to take care of it, and apparently they drive like lunatics over there, so you have to be super careful. There's a lot of like travel insurance in place. But I mean, like, I've never been that far away before. Mm-hmm. Well, I've never been to that part of the world. And amazing to be doing it with a friend in recovery.
Yeah, it's always.
She's an absolute. I've got some of my closest people are recovering addicts. There's just a real depth to them. Absolutely. And again, we're all a bit weird and wonderful, and like, we've all come from very different walks of life, but it's just that connection that I think I've struggled to find in the past, that real depth. So I've got a trip booked, I've got this course, I've got a little job, I've got a boyfriend.
Jesus. I wondered when that was going to come.
He's so lovely. He's also in recovery.
Okay.
So there's a real, again, depth and understanding.
Yeah, good.
He's very committed to his recovery.
Lovely.
He's wonderful. It's early. We've only been together for like 2 months.
However.
But again, something that it's taken me all this time. I'm still getting to know myself, and I'm aware of that. I'm still getting to know myself. So, it's early for me to be getting to know somebody else, but there's something really lovely about the fact that he's also in recovery, knows understanding of the 12 steps. And what I do know is that I have such a lovely community of women close to me, and I can talk about these things. I don't have to be all like, oh, I'm in a relationship and I have to keep it all to myself. It's like if I'm having a problem, if I'm worried, or if I'm fearful, or if I'm like, I'm feeling a bit euphoric and it's all a bit too, because I can get a bit like that, a bit high on life. And then sometimes a friend has to be like, just rein it in. Don't start like planning your family and your wedding, Alice. You've been together for 2 months. Because that can happen. And then other days I'm like, oh my God, I just want to be by myself, and I want to be, it's just, I have a wealth of people around me, and I have so much support that it feels like something I can do. I'm in a place to and he's lovely. Good. So that's exciting.
Good. But so are you, and that's good. So you've got 2 lovely people together in recovery.
Right, thank you.
Together.
Yeah, which is lovely.
How's your mum?
She's really good. We've actually planned to spend the day together next week.
Lovely.
Not doing horsey things, just like spending time. And she's great. And she says things to me sometimes like that she learns from me, which is so wonderful because it's always been this real parent-child dynamic. And now I'm kind of stepping into this kind of adult version of myself, and she's really started to like listen, because I guess she trusts me enough to kind of listen to what I have to say, whereas before it would just be talking BS all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's the,
she
like
listens.
You said, it's the parent-child thing. Why would you listen to a child, but you two are now developing the adult-to-adult relationship?
Exactly.
And the ripple effect of your recovery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Working
yeah.
the steps and your knowledge and experience, which, for the muggles, as I call them, right? They ain't going to have that experience.
No, they're not.
They're not going to have that experience of what the development and the learning that we have. So that's absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad for that. I'm really glad that you and your mum's relationship is adult to adult.
Honestly, it is amazing how that relationship has transformed. And I remember when I came out of treatment and I was first moved in the dry house, and I had some one-to-ones with Chrissy on Zoom.
Yeah.
Every week we talked about my mum, and I'm sure Chrissy must have been thinking, God's sake, when's she going to get it? Like, when's she going to get it? Because we would just talk about my mum over and over and over again. It's different. And I was going home every week, and Chrissy would be like, what would it be like to not go home this week? And I'd be like, maybe. And then I finally did, and I was like, oh, I can have boundaries here, and I don't need to be running home all the time. And yeah, just like things that are so simple but so difficult at the time, and like to now look back and be like, God, our relationship is so much healthier and happier.
Good.
But it's constantly working on it, right? That's the thing with relationships. You've got to keep like nurturing them and sort of, maintaining them. Yeah. So that's really good. Life is like, it's just full of really wonderful things. Every now and again, I get a pang of like, I should be anxious about something, I should be anxious about work. I should be anxious about, and then I'm like, but I'm not. I have space for me, and I just, not all the time. Don't get me wrong. It's a work in progress. But I do feel really passionate about recovery, and I, any ways that I can help to like kind of share a bit of a message, or to connect with others, or to do a bit of service, and stuff like this, or get involved with, I don't know, whatever Broadway might have going on. I'm really, really passionate about it, because this is just absolutely like saved my life and built one for me that I just could not have even fathomed 2 years ago.
Sounds amazing. I just want to ask you 2 more things, because it's just come to me. Last time I saw you, there was a group that you were starting.
Oh my God,
yes.
The EDA meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, tell me
There's
about
like 5 or 6 of us now in this group. Yeah, it's like an up and running meeting. Yeah, Eating Disorders Anonymous. So my friend Maria and I, we set up this meeting, and it's all based in America, and there's a lot of online meetings, but there's only now 2 face-to-face in the UK, and ours is the second one. So we just started it as like this little baby, and now it's like a little toddler.
Yes.
And it's lovely, and we get together every Sunday evening, and we read from the book, and we share our experience, and we've got, there's a woman that's just joined who's never done 12-step recovery, so this is like all new for her. The other women have come from like other fellowships. Yeah. But it's like, it's a really, oh my God, it's the most beautiful hour of my week. Like we get together and we talk, and
yes,
it's so cool to be, because that's a big part of my recovery that I've never really kind of dealt with. So it's nice to have the space to do that.
Yeah, I was just like, when you said that you started this, I was like,
well remembered. I've forgotten about that. Amongst all the cool things that are happening, that's like one of the coolest.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So listen, a tip for somebody out there struggling, thinking about coming to rehab, what would you give them? What would you say to them?
Oh my God, what would I say? Just accept that if the help is offered, just do it. Like, just do it. I remember being so terrified, but what was to come, literally just around the corner, my life was about to completely change. And all I had to do was accept the help. Just accept, that's literally it, isn't it? Just say, I'm going to accept this bit of help. And then like my life is completely transformed. It is really scary, but my God, it gets so much better. I'm so abundantly grateful to be here today. And I spent such a long amount of my time thinking that I didn't want to be here anymore. And that is all because I started my journey and I accepted some help and I came to treatment. That's it. Just take the help. Oh my God, take it. It will absolutely change your life. That would be what I would say.
And there you go. And there we have it. Anyway.
Exciting times ahead.
Yes. Thank you for coming down.
This has been wonderful.
We've been trying, because we booked, did we do this? We booked this
ages ago.
And we just, I can't remember what happened, but
life gets busy.
yes, it does. Well,
Amazing.
thank you, right?
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it.